It's Messi! It is the cleanest of clean finishes from the best on the planet.
It's time for the biggest sports stories.
Liverpool, the champions of Europe, are top of the world.
The biggest interviews.
That such a great spectacle is ruined by such thuggish behavior.
And all the analysis right here.
He's the one player that has the arrogance to think that he can play in any stadium in the world and any pitch in the world in front of any player in the world and take them on.
Every weekday, it's my sport, it's your sport. It's ZiFM Sport. Let's join the team for the biggest show in the world of sport on ZiFM Stereo. My station, your station.
It's a very good evening, Zimbabwe. Welcome to ZiFM Sport on Wacky Wednesday. The team that is here to deliver another great edition of ZiFM Sport are Mike Madoda, Chris Gray. We've got Sean Tafirenika, our producer, and we are joined by the man who's so big he had a stadium named after him, Simba Fupa Jena. He is here indeed. My name is Barry Manandi, and what can you look forward to? Oh, there's Fupa Jena Stadium. Don't shake your head at me. On the home front, you can look forward to Warriors striker Tino Kadewere. Now, he's getting his feet wet at French giants Olympique Lyon, but he's yet to explode in the colours of the Warriors. Tonight, we'll examine his club career that has been flourishing so far, but why Kadewere has struggled to impose himself in Warriors colours. In international sports news, Tiger Woods says there is no reason why he cannot make PGA Tour history this week with a win at his first competitive event since February.
Around the world in 60, we start in England, where off-spinner Dom Bess is not concerned by his failure to take wickets on the final day of the first test against West Indies, heading into the second test tomorrow. In Hungary, Lewis Hamilton believes Formula One's drivers will become closer through continued discussion about anti-racism topics and taking a knee, even if not all of them perform the gesture. And we touch down in South Africa, where star Springbok wing Cheslin Kolbe has signed with rapper and producer Jay-Z's prestigious Rock Nation Sports Management Company.
We're big on the big stories out of the world of sport, but also big on entertainment. Don't miss out on our play of the day, which comes halftime, and then it's the beautiful game where we'll kick off in the Premier League. Mikel Arteta has admitted it will be a massive blow if Arsenal were to miss out on European football next season, as the Gunners face champions Liverpool tonight at the Emirates. News out of Spain is that Luis Suarez insists Barcelona only have themselves to blame for letting La Liga slip away, saying winning the title was now impossible. In Italy, Juventus coach Maurizio Sarri insists he's not worried about criticism as his team continues to chase trophies this season. And we'll wrap it up with news out of the Bundesliga, where highly rated Birmingham City youngster Jude Bellingham has reportedly agreed a deal to sign for Borussia Dortmund.
The Warriors, the Chevrons, the Cheetahs, the Mighty Warriors, and the Sables. From the pool to the track to the field, we are Team Zimbabwe. The Home Front. Local sports news and analysis.
Don't forget, later on, we'll be looking at that news where Cheslin Kolbe has signed for Rock Nation. And then, of course, we got our local sports news roundup that has triathlon, handball, and karate news, or karate news, if you prefer to call it that. But first up is our home front feature, which talks about Tino Kadewere, the Warriors striker. Now, he's getting his feet wet at French giants Olympique Lyon, but he's yet to explode in the colours of the Warriors. He has found himself in the shadow of the golden duo of Knowledge Musona and Karma Billiot. Ironically, both Musona and Billiot play for clubs in Belgium and South Africa who are considered to be lightweights when compared to Lyon, where Kadewere is now contracted. He has been to 2 AFCON finals in Gabon in 2017 and in Egypt last year, but he has only featured in just 20 minutes of action. Now, previously would have made the excuse that Tino Kadewere was a youngster. He was being blooded into the national team setup because he was. But now you got to say he's a very experienced striker and should be doing a lot more in the gold of the Warriors, shouldn't he, Mike?
Yeah, absolutely, Barry. And he's come along in leaps and bounds. He's served his apprenticeship in the lower divisions of French football, and he earned that big move to Olympique Lyon, which is one of the traditional big boys in French football. So He's been doing well at a personal level, but when you take a look at his performances in the gold of the Warriors, his performances have been distinctly underwhelming, mainly because I think of the type of player that he is. He's an out-and-out striker, a central striker, and number 9, a hitman. But the Warriors and the attackers that play alongside him in the Warriors are not suited to that sort of play. If you take a look at Kama Billiard, if you take a look at Knowledge Musona, these are players that like to rove around the field. They like the positional switches. One time on the left flank, one time in the hole, next time on the right attacking channel. So Tino Kadewere, I think that sort of game is not suited to him. He is used to being the tip of the arrow, at the top of the attacking pyramid, playing in and around the box, bring the crosses in, feed the goat, as they used to say about Sean Goat and Man City, and the goat will score. And I think that's what needs to be done for Tino Kadewere. And I say this for Tino, and I'll also use the example of all the other central strikers that they've been tried out in the number 9 shirt for Zimbabwe, playing alongside Kama Billiard and Knowledge Musona. They've all suffered from exactly that. Nyasha Mushekwi is a prolific goal scorer in China. He was a prolific goal scorer for Caps United and, of course, in the other clubs that he has played for. But again, the goals dry up when he's wearing the gold of the Warriors, simply because the style that we play is not best suited to a targetman, and his fellow attackers don't exactly complement his strengths.
And if we look at those 2 AFCON finals in isolation, Chris, you look at Gabon, you look at Egypt. Gabon, I think we had Kalisto Pasua in charge, and then in Egypt it was Sunday Mofuchi Zambwa. 2 style of coaching. The philosophy and mentality has a lot to do with ensuring that you've got a stoic, strong defense. It isn't necessarily very attacking and free reigning, which is where Tino Kadewere thrives. You've got to think to yourself, now we got a new coach. We got Coach Loga. Hopefully this will breathe new, fresh life, and we can all see that triple K, Kadewere, Karma, knowledge that we all want to see.
Definitely. One hopes that he is doing his homework and taking a look at some of these players, especially the international players like Tino Kadewere, where he's able to get footage of them, he's able to get news about them, how they play, how best to place them. I think that's the work that he needs to be doing at the moment. So hopefully he's doing that, and he's able to unleash some of these players that we know play extremely well when they're playing for their clubs, and we need them to actually show up in those Warriors colors as well. So I think that's up to our new coach as well. I think that's something that we'll be looking at and judging him on, is how did he manage to change the current setup such that it benefits some of these players who we know can get goals for us.
Simba, the man who has a stadium named after him in Chegu to Pupajena Stadium. You look at his stats, particularly this past season where he was playing for Ligue 2 side Le Havre, scoring 26 goals. And then if you look at his profligacy in front of goal for the Warriors, because people might say, look, he hasn't had enough minutes for the Warriors for you to judge him. But in truth, when he has played for the Warriors, he is rather wasteful in front of goal. So perhaps there are some pressure issues there as well. And hopefully playing in a high pressure league is going to solve any mentality issues that he may have had around his Warriors.
Yeah, I think beyond the issue of the mentality, I think a lot of it still goes back to what Mike has raised in terms of the style of play. So in a setup where chances are at a premium, the pressure is always higher, that you need to be the sort of striker that just puts away 1 in every 2 consistently. Right. So if you're a 1 in every 4 sort of striker, and Zimbabwe hardly ever gets into a match where you get 4 clear-cut chances, you then become a passenger, and all the people will always remember what Kama did on the ball, what Knowledge did on the ball, because they're those sorts of forwards that thrive even when the pressure is on and they're not getting it. They can come deep and get the ball and do something and work some magic. Where they fail in some regard, being Kama and Knowledge, is that in terms of looking even for each other to give the assist or whatever, I think they then get into goal scoring positions, and more often than not, because they're also capable goal scorers, they look to put the shot away, which then leaves someone that is thriving on or just begging to be given the chance to put the ball away still in a spectator sort of role. So I think it's more about the system that needs to change, because if it's in terms of mentality, I think the pressure that is there when he was playing in second division, and compared to some of the qualifiers that we play as a nation, I don't think there's much of a difference. He's gone to the bigger league and he's kind of taken like a duck to water. Yes, it's been in friendlies mostly, but the fact that they've acknowledged that there's something there, I think means that the ability is there. The mentality would definitely be helped if the system was set up more for him.
Barry, I think one of the things that we need to ask ourselves, again, I go back to, is why has almost every attacker that's been played in tandem with Knowledge Musona and Kamabiliet failed in Warriors colours? Evans Rusike, Matthew Rusike, Kudama Hachi, Tino Kadewere, Nyasha Mushekwi, Nox Mtizwa. These are all strikers of different molds and styles, yet they always fail. These are strikers who are cutting the mustard at club level, but when they are put in that yellow, the golden jersey of the Warriors, something seems to be off. And that's mainly because of what Simba is talking about, the fact that we've got two attackers in Kamabiliet and Knowledge Musona who believe that, listen, they must score too. They believe that they are goal scorers. They believe that they can do the job just as well as any of the central strikers. And that is where our problem lies, where if these guys could be just a little less selfish and start facilitating. And we see, listen, if you go internationally, look at the sacrifices that Lionel Messi has made to his game. This is a guy who played in one season as a central striker. What did he do when he played as a central striker? He scored 92 goals. We've never seen that in the history of football. He scored 92 goals in one season. And yet people are crowing about strikers who are scoring 25 goals in a season. He scored 92. Ronaldo that season scored 60. He was 30 goals less than Messi. But for the good of the team, Messi moved from that central striking position to be an attacker in wide midfield for the benefit of the team. Karma and Knowledge have got to be of the same mentality that, you know what, it's not about us, it's about the team. It's about the team objective rather than the personal statistics.
It then begs the question, and obviously Simba brought in the systematic issue, Chris, around the system that the team is playing. Doesn't it beg the question that do we have a system in Zimbabwe? And is that system, if we have it, getting the best out of our players? Because you've got to admit, barring the dream team, possibly the Tulani Via season or group of players, and this group, those are the golden generations of Zimbabwe footballers. Are we getting the best that we can out of this team? Is the system geared towards them?
I don't think the system is geared towards them, and we can point to a number of things. We can take a look at the fact that some of these, before, say, for example, in AFCON, how long are these players in camp such that you can develop sort of a style of play that you'd want to use for that particular tournament? How much is going into that investment into the coaching staff themselves who are supposed to be setting this team up? How much do we have going into all of that we can look at and say, yes, we have a functional system that will get the best out of these players? At the moment, I don't think we have one. We chop and change coaches quite constantly, and I think that's one of the issues we're going to be seeing, is that you can't have a functional system when the people who hold together that system are constantly chopping and changing. To be honest, you need to have people in the system for long enough that you can establish the system to start with. After that, obviously, then individuals can come and go, but when we don't have something set up at the moment, I think we have a problem.
It's a fair assessment, because if you look at England, who had a semi-final berth in this last World Cup, they've maintained Gareth Southgate, and those young players are getting the best of their expression of their football under Gareth Southgate, and he's going to be in the job come 2022, and chances are we'll see England, if not match that semi-final appearance, go even further. Perhaps food for thought for us here in Zimbabwe. Can we get the best out of our players? Tino Kadewere, can we get the best out of him? We'll see once the Warriors get back onto the football field. For now, COVID-19 is ruling the roost.
Hi, I'm Warriors coach Zdravko Logarušić and you are listening to ZiFM Sport.
Sports with a difference.
Right, let's give you some local sports news updates, starting with triathlon, where Zimbabwe is ready for action with their season set to commence in September after being given the green light by the government as a low-risk sport. The three-pronged sport that has been classified as low-risk is set to take off on the 20th of September at the Mount Pleasant swimming pool, with a number of precursor events on the cards. Triathlon Zimbabwe President Dave Ellis says the association is excited at the prospect of getting back to action despite the COVID-19 setback. In handball news, the Zimbabwe Handball Federation will hold elections on the 25th of July for a new Matabeleland North board to replace the incumbent structure that was set up in 2017 to revive the sport in the province. The elections will be conducted at the Sports and Recreation Commission offices in Bulawayo. The current board, chaired by Taurai Mberekwa, was put together by ZHF in December 2017 following suspension of the previous board on corruption allegations. It was tasked with fulfilling specific targets like crafting a constitution, which was drafted and adopted in May 2018. Let's wrap it up with karate news, where a provisional draft of the Zimbabwe Karate Union, the ZKU curriculum to be introduced in mainstream education, is undergoing scrutiny by members around the country before being forwarded to the Sports and Recreation Commission for approval. ZKU President Sensei Joe Rugwete said consultations with members were meant to ensure they come up with a solid syllabus that caters for everyone, encompassing karate.
Hi, this is Mike Madod, and you can catch me and the team for all the latest breaking news out of the world of sport, local as well as international, on your favorite station, my station, your station, ZiFM. We are Z-Team on ZiFM Sport.
Z. From the front of the grid to the back of the net, it's ZiFM Sport. International Sports News Roundup, where the world comes out to play.
The show continues with some international sports news. Before we get to our feature, which is on Tiger Woods and golf, a reminder that the beautiful game is in the second half of the show. We'll be taking a look at Chelsea. Frank Lampard feeling the nerves as the countdown begins to the end of the season, and confirmation of which teams will join Liverpool and Manchester City in the Champions League. Stay tuned to ZiFM Sport. But let's go to the golf, where Tiger Woods is back in action this week, and he says that there is no reason why he cannot make PGA Tour history this week with a win at his first competitive event since February. The 44-year-old goes into the Memorial Tournament in Dublin, Ohio, chasing an 83rd PGA Tour win that would eclipse Sam Snead's mark of 82 set in 1965. Masters champion Woods missed tournaments prior to golf's coronavirus shutdown in order to deal with back issues. At his last tour event in February, the Genesis Invitational, he finished last among the players to make the cut. So let's hear from Tiger Woods, who says that he delayed his return to PGA Tour action for his personal safety amid the coronavirus pandemic.
I did consider playing, trying to figure out if I should play or not, but I just felt it was better to stay at home and be safe. And I'm used to playing with lots of people around me, or having lots of people have direct line to me, and that puts not only myself in danger, but my friends and family. And just been at home practicing and being social distancing and being away from a lot of people. Coming back and playing the tour, that's, in my case, over the 20 some odd years I've been out here, that's really hard to say. That I'm used to having so many people around me, or even touch me, going from green to tee, and that's something that I looked at and said, well, I'm not quite comfortable with that whole idea. Let's see how it plays out first, and seeing how the tour has played out, how they started, and I feel that I'm comfortable enough to come back out here and play again, and I'm excited to do it.
Z. Right, Barry, one of the things that Tiger Woods talks about regards his delay to action is the fact that a lot of people want contact with him. on the golf course. And even without galleries, there are people, the staff that are on course, everyone just wants, a level of contact with Tiger Woods, which he says that he was not entirely comfortable with until the safety protocols were really established and he managed to see how they were adhered to. And now he's comfortable to be able to return to the course because he has faith in the security systems that have been put in place.
Absolutely, and in truth, you can sort of understand. Some people might say, he's just being a baby, but in truth, you don't know the life of Tiger Woods until you've lived as Tiger Woods. You can see it when fans were allowed to watch sport. Those galleries that follow him just are the measure of the man, and you got to think to yourself that worse still, if he's just going even for a Sunday round. Chances are the staff at whatever course he wants to play or whatever the case may be, all are in awe of this great man. So I completely understand why he delayed his return. And again, I sort of agree with him that there's no reason why he can't win this tournament outright. He looked in good nick when we saw him go out for that charity tournament that took place during the heavy lockdown, where he took on Phil Mickelson and the two quarterbacks. So I think if he's still in that sort of nick, he's got a good chance in this tournament.
Well, let's just take a look at some of the groupings. Justin Thomas, he's been grouped with Xander Schauffele and Dustin Johnson. Very interesting three-ball, that one. Bryson DeChambeau, Colin Morikawa, Patrick Cantlay, Phil Mickelson with Justin Rose and Shane Lowry. Now, Chris, Tiger Woods is up against Rory McIlroy and Brooks Koepka. We talk about Tiger Woods being box office in the best of times, but even now, without the fans, that is a three-ball that is going to have the attention of everyone watching on TV, because those are three of the best players in the world.
Definitely. I think they've been very strategic about these groupings and ensuring the competitiveness and just how many eyes will be on that particular grouping, how many people are going to be tuning in for this. And there's going to be quite a bit, even though there are no fans that are going to be at the course itself. I think you'd still say that a lot of people are going to be tuning in, especially because Tiger Woods is going to be going up against some of the best still.
Simba, Tiger Woods, of course, he's made it very clear that it's all about the majors for him, and he's going to be using some of these tournaments to prepare him for the big tournaments, the ones that really matter. He's 44 years old now, and he's probably got about 6 years of good golf in him at the very top level if we are to use the likes of Phil Mickelson, the likes of Nick Price as a barometer. You can easily play until you're 50. And so for him, it's important that he starts building up a head of steam and some level of consistency if he is to start adding the majors in the pursuit of Jack Nicklaus's record of 18.
Mm-hmm. That's true. I just wonder, though, that in terms of the gallery itself being absent, whether it takes away some of the so-called advantage that he used to have, because as much as you're not necessarily playing against somebody, the fact that Tiger Woods is on the course, a lot of people would hear the roars whenever he was having a good round. So maybe that kind of levels it off a bit, and then it goes back down to just pure ability, of which he still has loads of. And the fact that you mentioned that he probably still has about 6 more years in it, I think it's enough with 4 majors every year of a chance for him to eventually reel in that big record that he's looking after. And then the one that probably people don't mention so much, the one with Sam Snead, I think that is likely to also get and even surpass by not a fair bit of a margin, but maybe get as close to 90 as possible. But like you mentioned, the one with the majors is the one where he really wants to be tops.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, guys, I rattled off some of those 3 balls, and the leading players in the world are taking part in this event. If you can just give me one name each, who do you reckon is going to be lifting the trophy aloft come Sunday night? Starting with you, Barry.
Brooks Koepka.
Brooks Koepka. Chris?
Bryson DeChambeau.
Sims?
Justin Thomas.
Justin Thomas, and I'm going with Dustin Johnson. DJ. So on Monday, we'll get to find out who of the 4 in studio
and
is
if
correct.
Tiger will give an excuse.
We all celebrate. We all celebrate.
We all back Tiger.
Hi, my name's Ryan Cairns, Sunshine Tour professional golfer, and you're listening to ZiFM Sport.
Around the world in 60 seconds. International sports news.
Around the World in 60 is proudly brought to you by DSTV. We take off in England, where England off-spinner Dom Bess is not concerned by his failure to take wickets on the final day of the first test against West Indies, ahead of the second test tomorrow at Old Trafford. Bess took 2 for 51 in the first innings, but ended wicketless for 31 in the second, as tourists won by 4 wickets. When England won the toss for the first test at Southampton's Aegis Bowl, stand-in captain Ben Stokes chose to bat first in the hope the pitch would deteriorate and bring Bess into the game in the 4th innings. We head over to Hungary, where Lewis Hamilton believes Formula One's drivers will become closer through continued discussion about anti-racism topics and taking a knee, even if not all perform the gesture. Formula One's drivers have all collectively stated their desire to fight discrimination and worn anti-racism t-shirts on the grid ahead of the season's first 2 Grand Prix. But unlike the case in other sports, not all have decided to take a knee. We touched down in South Africa, where Springbok wing Cheslin Kobe has signed with rapper and producer Jay-Z's prestigious Rock Nation sports management company. Kobe follows the footsteps of Springbok captain Siya Kolisi, who signed with the company after South Africa won the 2019 Rugby World Cup. Kobe, who stands at just 1.71 meters and 80 kilograms, has played 14 tests for the Springboks and scored 8 tries, including 1 in the 31-12 Rugby World Cup final win over England in Yokohama. The 26-year-old, who plies his trade at French club Toulouse, says he learned about JC's vision and philosophy for Rock Nation sports.
Hi, I'm Clemens Matau, chicken in midfielder. You're listening to ZiFM Sports.
The big leagues, the big teams, the big players. The beautiful game on ZiFM Sport. All the rivalry.
Here is Harry Kane for Tottenham. Oh, what a goal! A classic derby goal from Harry Kane. Catch him if you can.
All the stars.
Oh, back here's Liverpool 2 in front. Talk about impudence. Talk about improvisation. Talk about Sadio Mane.
And all the game-changing moments.
And Raheem Sterling rattles it home. And once more, City are in front in a trice.
All the updates from the Premier League on ZiFM Sport.
News out of England is that Chelsea head coach Frank Lampard admitted to there being a nervy feeling after watching his side squeeze out Norwich to strengthen their grip on 3rd place in the Premier League. His side needs 4 points from the remaining 2 Premier League games away to Liverpool and at home to Wolves on the final day to be guaranteed of a Champions League place next season. They did enough to defeat an already relegated Norwich team last night thanks to Olivier Giroud's 6th league goal in his last 8 starts on the stroke of half-time at Stamford Bridge. Let's hear from Frank Lampard.
It was okay. No, it was okay. Listen, I shouldn't baby joke, because at this stage of the season, as we've seen in the last 48 hours, results are critical, and we didn't concede any chances of big note for them to let them score a goal. We created a few ourselves. We get our 1 goal. Maybe we could do more. We can be a bit better with our quality. You know, it was okay, and professional would be probably a word. I want more, but that can wait. I think where we're at the moment as a team, and the position we're at in the table, 3 points is everything tonight.
Well, just taking a look at the stats here, Chris, a lot of positive for Chelsea. Chelsea winning 5 consecutive home Premier League games for the first time since December 2017. But that was to be expected against a very poor Norwich side, who have now gone a club record, I think, is it 8 games without any wins whatsoever, 8 consecutive defeats. So that was to be expected. What would have been worrying is that Chelsea laboured to this victory, which was supposed to be routine.
Definitely. I think it's obviously, first of all, great to see Chelsea, as I'm saying this as a Manchester United fan, but it's great to see Chelsea on this run, and the fact that they might actually be able to clinch that Champions League position from how they started the season to where they are now. I think you can see that they've grown in leaps and bounds, and I think it's particularly good that in this match they managed to get away with those 3 points that are critical to their run, and they managed to do so without necessarily grinding the result out.
Yeah, but you take a look at the performance, Sims. Chelsea really weren't at the races. And what would concern me is that they allowed Norwich for long periods in that game to actually control the game.
Yeah, to control the game. And what also kind of shocked was a lot of people would have expected of the three teams that are still eyeing the two of those remaining top four places. Chelsea is the one that's got the worst goal difference, and they were looking at the fixtures remaining and looked at towards this match as one where they could kind of do some of the damage in that. But when you looked at it right from the beginning of the match, quite cagey, maybe the sense of the occasion in terms of if this becomes a banana skin, this could derail all the other plans, and off the back of another shock defeat in their last encounter kind of happened. And then even in the moments when it looked like they were now coming into their own, they always seem to then somehow ease off the pressure and let Norwich get back into that control of the match. Unfortunately for Norwich, they didn't then have those clear-cut chances. They didn't have enough touches in the Chelsea box to really pose a threat. So a lot of it was control of possession and all sorts of other dynamics without necessarily the potency to then cause another upset. But like we said, what they needed are the 3 points to maintain the social distancing between themselves and the teams that are tied on 59 points, I think it is. So right now, they would definitely back themselves even for the last two matches. It's one thing to catch a team, it's another thing to then have to leapfrog them.
Barry, let's talk about the match winner, Olivier Giroud. He's a World Cup winner. He's a guy that seems to be delivering for Chelsea at the moment, scoring crucial goals for Frank Lampard. But it seems that he's a player that's underappreciated even by Lampard himself, because he has not been a regular for the Blues in this campaign.
Yeah, he hasn't. And in truth, he's a player who I think if you play according to his strengths, he can deliver for you. And his strengths are not, look, he can score a goal, but he contributes, his team contribution and team play, bringing others into play, I think is underappreciated by many coaches. I mean, we saw Didier Deschamps with the French national team appreciate the fact that Olivier Giroud may not score goals for you, but he can certainly do a job in terms of bringing others into play. And I think if you appreciate it a little bit more in that regard, Frank Lampard might actually be sitting on something that can be something different to what he's got in the rest of his arsenal. We know what Tammy Abrahams brings to the side or whatever the case may be, but Olivier Giroud, I think, and I agree with you, that word is key. He's underappreciated.
Barry, I want to ask you this as well. Next game is versus Liverpool. You are Virgil van Dijk or you are Joe Gomez. You're looking at the Chelsea starting lineup and you see Giroud, or then there's an alternative lineup and you see Tammy Abraham. Who would you rather be marking?
Tammy Abraham all day long. I think Tammy Abraham is lightweight. He's got a soft centre. He doesn't necessarily have the X factor. His movement isn't that great. So, but with the ball at his feet, yes, we know what he can deliver. So keep it away from his feet. So 100% Tammy Abraham. I think Olivier Giroud has got that little bit of, as we saw last night in the goal that he delivered. He's got that street smarts, the wiseness that just gets you that extra edge. And so I'd prefer to mark Tammy Abraham if I'm Virgil van Dijk.
Okay, talking about Liverpool, they're in action tonight, and the game is in London at the Emirates, up against Arsenal, whose manager Mikel Arteta has admitted it will be a massive blow if Arsenal were to miss out on European football next season. Failure to qualify will see the Gunners go without European competition for the first time since the 1995-96 season, while it will be a third successive campaign without Champions League football. Let's hear from the Spaniard, Mikel Arteta.
Yeah, for everybody, a massive blow. But a lot of things change and a lot of things are changing, and a lot of clubs were always the time in their history in Champions League, and now they are not. So we are not the only ones in that situation. It's never in the history of the Premier League that you had 7 teams at that level competing for those places. Liverpool didn't win the title for 20 years. Is that normal? No, it didn't happen 20 years ago. But now they're going to win it again. They've won it again already, and nobody made 100 points. And with City, yes, we did it, but nobody in the history did it in 100 years. So these records are there to break. So It's something that has happened. So obviously we need to know that there is a reason behind. It's not bad luck. It's not one element or two elements. It's a lot of things that have to be changed in order to accomplish again the level that we want for this football club.
Chris, there's no doubting the great work that's been done by Mikel Arteta. Arsenal seem like they've turned a corner. They're not chugging along nicely. You know, they're still dropping points here and there. Work still in progress. One of the key areas of concern, I think, is in defense, where they are making far too many mistakes. And against tonight's opponents in Liverpool, who boast Mohamed Salah, Sadio Mane and Bobby Firmino, they can't afford to give away any cheap goals.
Definitely. And if you take a look at, I think it's their last two matches, they haven't been able to keep those goals out. And that's something Liverpool will definitely capitalize on. And I don't think they'll be able to keep Liverpool out tonight. Just taking a look at how they've been playing defensively in their last three or so matches, it hasn't been fantastic for Arsenal. And one only hopes that they manage to pick it up again. Likelihood of them keeping Liverpool out, very, very slim. If you mentioned that Liverpool, their front three, it's not likely that they'll be able to keep them out. So Liverpool's definitely going to be capitalizing on Arsenal tonight.
Simba, Liverpool are champions, but there's still so much more to play for, especially that 100-point target that will see them join Man City as the only two teams to, of course, have had to have that tag as Centurions.
Yeah, the Centurion tag. Some people have looked at it and said it's not necessary. I think whether they attain it or not, their legacy has kind of been cemented with just how quickly they've managed to do it and blitz the teams around them. It would definitely add a bit of gloss to an already impressive season. And for me, I think just the difference in approaches, because even when the Manchester City team did it, they wrapped up the title quite early, but Pep was the one that was front and center and advising the rest of the world that I've set them another target just so that there's no complacency. I know a lot of talk has come in terms of Liverpool already in pre-season, but what better way of continuing that pre-season than to maintain some sort of momentum so that by the time the real season starts again, you're actually just maintaining whatever brilliant run you're already on.
Barry, the hallmark of the great sides is a winning mentality, and Liverpool will need to show their ruthless nature tonight versus Arsenal to just carry on winning and winning game after game, because that is sort of like what you want to get into your DNA as a club.
Yeah, absolutely. Hallmark of all the great sides. Yeah, and it's important that Liverpool doesn't switch off, because there's all the talk about it's so hard to motivate yourself after you've already won the championship. It's so hard to get yourself up for the next game, but there's so much to play for. So that winning mentality is going to see Liverpool then carry that momentum into next season, carry that momentum into the next hurdle. And the good thing is that, as you quite rightly point out, they've got all sorts of milestones that they can still chase, and that 100-point target, scoring that century, is one of those targets, and hopefully they're actively chasing it. It starts with game by game, as they've done all season, and tonight is the first one of those.
So Arsenal versus Liverpool at the Emirates in London, that's the pick of tonight's fixtures. But before that, Burnley versus Wolves. Manchester City will welcome Bournemouth to Eastlands or the Etihad. And up in the northeast, it'll be Newcastle United, the Toon, taking on Jose Mourinho and Tottenham Hotspur. Tomorrow, 4 matches. Everton versus Aston Villa on Merseyside. Leicester City versus Sheffield United. Big games, that one. Leicester City looking, of course, to qualify for the Champions League. Sheffield United to qualify for Europe. Crystal Palace versus Manchester United. Manchester United looking for all 3 points. And then Southampton versus Brighton. Southampton have survived. They've maintained their place in the Premier League. So have Brighton. Nothing but pride to play for in that one.
The league that makes football oh so beautiful, where artistry and strokes of genius are the order of any day, where the game is played with a smile and the little master creates his magic.
It's Lionel Messi!
All the news from the Spanish La Liga on ZiFM Sport.
The goal the world wants it!
In Spain, Luis Suarez insisted Barcelona only had themselves to blame for letting La Liga slip away, saying winning the title was now impossible. With 2 league games remaining, Barca are 4 points adrift of rivals and leaders Real Madrid. Quique Setien's men looked on track for the title, but have dropped points in 3 of their past 7 matches. It's not a good return, and it's brought about more questions than answers out at the Camp Nou. And the hope is that those answers will be provided hopefully in the off season. But you've got to say to yourself, Chris, that Quique Setien hasn't covered himself in glory in the time that he's been in charge. It seems to be clicking into gear now, but there's been a vital component, especially after the restart, where he hasn't delivered the results that were required, and Real Madrid has just seemed unstoppable.
Definitely. I think the continuous slip-ups and that reliance on Messi in order to deliver goals, I think that's where the problems are. And just they haven't been able to pick themselves up, and I think we can attribute some of that to Setien himself. I think we can also attribute it to some internal issues they may be having. There's been a lot of talk coming out of the Barcelona camp, which is not necessarily something that we're used to. We've been hearing a lot of statements coming out about players, about the coaching, the players talking about the coach talking about the players, and that's something that we're not used to when it comes to Barcelona. So that happening, and I think we can see that there's something internally going on that they need to fix. But I think for La Liga now, the slip-ups have been one too many, and Real Madrid's gone away with it.
Xavi signing a new contract with his team out in the Middle East, a 1-year extension on his contract, obviously means that it's likely that Quique Setien is going to continue in this role at Barcelona, meaning that whatever those background issues that Chris was talking about need to be sorted out quickly to ensure that Barcelona actually has a chance going forward.
True, but I'd probably look at it also from just the business side of it and think it could just be his present team wanting to ensure that should Barcelona come calling, they need to pay some sort of compensation, top dollar for that, so that it's not just an easy transition for him to just move across. He, in fairness, was seemingly close to joining when they eventually settled for Setien. And I think the timing of it was as mid-season. Maybe the project is not necessarily looking in a sort of good direction. But if he's going to be given himself a chance as a fresh start at the beginning of the season, with all the politics that I'm sure he's already aware of, probably still has a good number of mates that are in the dressing room that he can get a sort of feel of it. I think it would be a good stroke in terms of getting some of those senior players on side by getting him into there. Already, Setien has already mentioned that he sometimes gets overawed by the star players that are there. So I think I wouldn't necessarily rule out Xavi joining just now.
I'm not ruling out Xavi joining just yet, but for now, Quique Setien is the man in charge. Barcelona themselves have a game on tomorrow. They take on Osasuna at the Camp Nou. In other matches in La Liga, Eibar host Real Valladolid. It's at the Athletic Club who take on Leganes. Celta Vigo versus Levante. Getafe versus Atletico Madrid. Mallorca versus Granada. It's Real Betis versus Alaves. Real Madrid will entertain Villarreal with a win, ensuring that they take the title. Real Sociedad versus Sevilla, and Valencia will entertain Espanyol.
The Nerazzurri, the Black and Blues, Inter Milan.
It's Romelu Lukaku, and it was never in doubt. He's a beast at the best of times, but this season he has become a monster.
The Giallorossi, the Yellow and Reds, AS Roma.
Belotti has a go! Tremendous hits! That's what he's capable of.
La Viola, the Purple Ones, Fiorentina.
Franck Ribéry seals a glorious win for Fiorentina with a sumptuous goal at San Siro.
The Bianconeri, the Black and Whites, Juventus.
Ronaldo seals yet another 3 points for Juventus.
Tough yet colourful. The best of Italian football on Z.
Heading over to Italy for some Serie A news, Juventus coach Maurizio Sarri insisted he was unworried about criticism as his team continued to chase trophies this season. Ahead of a trip to Sassuolo, Juve are 6 points clear atop Serie A with 6 games left to play, and also in the Champions League last 16. Sarri, who has lost the Coppa Italia final and Supercoppa Italiana this season, has faced some criticism, but the Juventus coach is not bothered. Sims, does Maurizio Sarri have anything to be bothered about? I think that Coppa Italia final may have, sparked some conversation, but in terms of Juventus' performance, throughout the season, and even after the restart, Juventus has been performing well.
Yeah, true. I think definitely something for him to be concerned with. The Champions League, for me, I suppose, remains the holy grail of sorts for them. Probably the main reason why they even went and broke the bank to bring in Cristiano Ronaldo. But that doesn't necessarily happen initially in the first season that he came across. This is the season where it hopefully should happen, because it looks like a lot of pieces are about to get moved about as well. So he should be concerned if they don't land some of these so-called gimmies. Yeah, his job will be on the line.
Barry, Juventus are winless in their last 2 games, and they did need a pair of penalties from Ronaldo to draw Atalanta in their last match. Is this just a few slip-ups after a good run and they can get right back into it, or is there something to be concerned about?
I think it's not an opportunity to press the panic button. Certainly not. I think a lot of clubs have suffered the ills of the tight schedule. It's game after game after game after game. So it's you're going to get slip-ups. It's not going to be a perfect run. You don't have enough time to prepare for the next game. So we're going to attribute that as being and also they were playing a very good Atalanta side. So you can sort of forgive them that. I think going across, winning the Scudetto is important. Now they need to make a push for the Champions League, and I think the season will be saved in inverted commas, or will still look like a success. So for me, it's a blip rather than a crisis.
One is out from last night. Atalanta 6-2 against Brescia. Your fixtures for tonight: Bologna versus Napoli, AC Milan versus Parma, Sampdoria versus Cagliari, Lecce will be up against Fiorentina, Roma versus Hellas Verona, Sassuolo versus Juventus, Udinese will be up against Lazio. Some more action tomorrow: Torino versus Genoa, and Spal takes on Inter Milan.
All right, let's wrap it up with a quick transfer update. Birmingham City youngster Jude Bellingham has reportedly agreed a deal to sign for Borussia Dortmund. The 17-year-old has been at the centre of a huge transfer tussle between several of Europe's leading clubs in recent months, but now the Bundesliga side appear to have finally got their man. According to German outlet Bild, Bellingham has agreed terms on a move to Dortmund in a deal worth £22.5 million. It will make him the most expensive youngster in Bundesliga history. It's believed that he signed a 5-year deal that will see him earn £2.7 million a year in wages, and that will all total to about 13.5 over the course of that deal. And Dortmund beating off competition from Manchester United and Bayern Munich, who had been desperate to sign Jude Bellingham.
Wow, that is real money. And on that bombshell, we'll close the show. We'll catch you tomorrow. May God richly bless you. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. Manandi, out.
And it's Messi! It is the cleanest of clean finishes from the best on the planet.
The biggest sports stories.
Liverpool, the champions of Europe, are top of the world.
The biggest interviews.
That such a great spectacle is ruined by such thuggish behavior.
And all the analysis right here.
He's the one player that has the arrogance to think that he can play in any stadium in the world and any pitch in the world in front of any player in the world and take them on.
Every weekday, it's my sport, it's your sport. It's ZiFM Sport on ZiFM Stereo. My station, your station.